how do I help my child? If they're crying and they're having full-blown meltdowns or tantrums because a device is taken from them or because they can't get a device or have access to it, then you want to say, well, what are some alternatives? What are some options? Because if I don't address the situation, if I don't address what I see is happening in my child, if I don't address the meltdowns, if I don't address the tantrums because of the device, right? Because they can't get a device or device is taken. If I don't address it, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to continue. So you want to address it. But let's talk about why these meltdowns are happening. All right. So I dug deep. Of course, I have my own opinions of what's happening. As an educator for 23 years, I've seen it all. All right. So I did some more research because I wanted to see what are the studies saying? What are the scientists saying? What are the experts when it comes to research? What's the research saying? What is the research saying when it comes to tablets or mobile devices or any type of independent device? When those are being used as, I want to say, like a go-to tool for soothing, calming, or even just entertainment to just quickly engage a child so they'll be quiet or they'll sit down for a long period of time. When the device is being used as that type of go-to tool, and I don't mean every now and then, let's say every day, right? This is happening on a daily basis or every other day, or this is pretty consistent in this child's life, that this device is being used as a tool to calm, to soothe, or to quickly engage, right? And when that happens, what starts to happen for or within the child is that they start to become dependent on that device. It's kind of like someone has a favorite teddy bear or a soothing blanket or, their favorite blanket that they have to carry around because it helps them to calm down. Or children that, go grab their teddy bears or certain toys and they go and sit on their bed, or they have like a calming area, right? The device is becoming a tool that they use for calming, for soothing, and therefore they become dependent on it. And when they become dependent on it, that means that is what's stimulating them. And it most likely is overstimulating them in some cases. And so when you take that soothing tool away from them, just like you take the teddy bear or the blanket away or the passy away, yes, a meltdown ensues. Because the child, when they're looking for that device or that tablet, when they're looking for it, they are looking for it to help them self-regulate, to regulate their emotions. That is the tool that they are going to. That is their go-to to self-regulate. And that is not something you want to happen at a very early age. I mean, you don't want it to happen at any age. We as adults don't want to get addicted to our devices either, but some adults are, right? And it's easy. You know how easy it is in adulthood. And you know how easy it is for us to get addicted to devices, to get addicted to different social media platforms, right? We find ourselves scrolling and just waking up and just snapping out of it and just being like, well, how did I even get here? Oh my goodness, how long? And then checking the time and you're just like, how long have I been scrolling, right? It almost becomes a soothing tool. And for us as adults, we're able to, well, most of us are able to self-regulate. And I don't mean it as a joke. It really is honestly true. Everyone can self-regulate, even adults, right? Regulate your emotions, know how to deal with emotions, how to calm your own self down without a device, without something on the outside, without your whatever it is. Being able to self-regulate, that is a skill that is so important to learn. And you want to build a great foundation for your children to start understanding and being able to do these things in the early ages with your guidance, but not so much with the guidance of a tool like a device. So what I'm explaining right now, what we're talking about, if we name it, it is called screen dependence. Screen dependence. It's basically your child depends on that screen to soothe, depends on that screen to calm. And so it's a developmental response, which is similar to addiction, which is similar to overstimulation. That is the response that children that are experiencing that level of screen dependence, that's what they're experiencing. It is just to give you an example and to give you what the equivalent is. So when you hear people say, screens are harmful, screens are evil, screens are bad, yes, maybe they've read that, maybe they know that these are some of the results, but once again, like we all know, because we discussed this throughout this conversation, is that screens are not evil if they're used in the right way. They're not bad. They're not the enemy. They're not harmful if they're used in the right way. But yes, if they're overused, if they're used in the wrong way, in unhealthy ways, it can lead to things such as screen dependence. And so, again, being informed, being aware is necessary. And that's why these conversations are so important. And so I would love to know what you think about screen dependence. But what do you think about that? I really want to know, how do you feel knowing that screens can cause this? They can cause this. And what steps are you planning on taking to make sure that your child doesn't experience screen dependence? Because just because they use a screen, just because you choose to use it every day, does not mean that they are going to become dependent on that screen. It can just be used as a learning tool, as a beneficial learning tool. And we know that can happen if we use it in a healthy way. It can be scary. It sounds scary. It is scary because it's true. And these things can happen, but that's why we're staying informed. Okay, I wanted to read something that I found in some of the research. It says the stimulation, this is just to explain the screen independence a little more and what a child could experience if a device is used in an unhealthy way. The stimulation from screens can trigger brain reward pathways, or dopamine, making screen time feel good, right? Feel good. When the screen is taken away, the sudden drop in stimulation can feel like withdrawal, causing anger, resistance, and tantrums. Sudden transitions from screen to real life are especially tough because the contrast is strong. From a high stimulation environment to a quieter or less immediately rewarding activity. Without gentle guidance or alternative soothing, kids respond in frustration. So that is a little more detail about this screen independence and why you do see some children having these kinds of meltdowns. Because honestly, what happens is if we are giving children a device instead of having conversation with them and guiding them and teaching them how to soothe and calm and self-regulate, if we're skipping over the natural ability for them to learn this and guiding them and having conversations about this and really teaching them how to self-soothe without a device, if we're not teaching them how to start to use tools within themselves, their body, to self-regulate, then we're skipping over a very important part of child development. And if you just keep giving them the device, they won't have the opportunity to naturally develop these skills and strengthen these skills. And that would be so unfortunate because this is a critical time for them to learn those skills. The younger years are the foundational years. These are the years that you want to teach them strong foundational skills like self-regulation, understanding their emotions, learning how to soothe themselves, calm themselves, giving them natural tools that are naturally in their environment, tools within themselves, within their body to be able to use to strengthen those type of emotional self-regulation skills. If we skip over that, they lose that opportunity to add this to their foundation, to make this a part and strengthen their foundation. And you don't want them to lose that opportunity. You don't want the device to become the thing that they are dependent on. Yes, it can be rewarding. Yes, it can be beneficial. Yes, it can teach. It can lend towards that. But it never, ever, ever can replace conversation, human interaction, and learning foundational skills such as self-regulation. A device can never replace that. Ever, ever, ever. Okay. Now I know we really dove deep and talked about a difficult conversation or a hot topic right? A hot topic. But we learned a lot. We're going to continue. We learned a lot, and we're going to continue to learn together. And that's what's important. I am always learning as an educator, and I want to share what I learned with all of you. And whatever you share, share it with me. Let's keep this two-way conversation going so we can continue to make sure we are showing up for the children in our lives in the best possible way. And we are helping them to create a strong foundation with life skills, developmental skills, and all of the things that they need to succeed in this world. So that's what we want to set the young children in our lives up for, whether you're parenting them and teaching or whether you're just teaching them. This is what we want to do, and we have to do it together. So thank you so much for chatting with me.